been telling you what the Secret Seven do and how we hope to help the old general.
Hello, so today I'm going to show you what I've been doing to use up what I have, some recipes, and I'm going to do some cooking with Lydia and share a few thoughts about how cooking and making cakes relates to life and to Romans 8:28, and also a thought on fear. So last night I put a chicken in the slow cooker, and it's honey soy chicken, so I put in a quarter cup of honey and a quarter cup of soya sauce, and that makes the chicken taste really nice. So I'm going to take all the chicken off and put the bones back in and cook that today to make chicken soup, and then I'll do something else with the chicken. So today is Wednesday and I've made some chili con carne. This is one of my favourite meals. It's a little bit runny, but so I've made it to use on one of the days that I can't cook. This time I put some capsicum in it because I had some to use up, but I don't usually put it in, but I find it really yum. So I plan to have those with nacho chips. And I'm going to do some baking now. I have lots of lemons to use up and also some plum pulp, so I'm going to try this lemon marshmallow slice just as a different way to use them up. And I'm going to try this recipe, which is a plum bread recipe. So if they turn out good, I'll share the recipe, and I'll also share the chili recipe as well because I really like that. It's that Simon Allison Holst recipe. Joseph is home today. If you can hear noise in the background, he got an insect bite, or he got stung or bitten by something yesterday when he was playing outside in the dirt, and his hand got all swollen and sore, and it's the second time that's happened, so this time we already had the treatment, so we didn't go take him to the doctor. But this morning it's sore and swollen again, so he stayed home from school. So he's in my bed watching a Sugar Creek Gang movie. There's about five in the series. Our children really like watching them. I used to read Sugar Creek Gang stories when I was young. They're Christian stories, and the videos are a bit different than the books, but our kids still really enjoy them. Johan used egg yolks at Little Haven yesterday for his fried rice, but he didn't use the white, so I'm going to try making meringue with them instead of throwing them out, so I'll see how they turn out. There was a little bit of yolk in there, so I'm not sure it's going to work or not. Hey! Well, the egg whites didn't work. They must have been too far gone, so instead we're going to make Lydia's cupcakes that she got for her birthday. Gonna make some cupcakes, Lyd?
I got that one.
Ooh. What else is in there? Need some help?
Yeah.
This one. Careful. Hey. Okay. So today is Saturday, and this afternoon Johan didn't need to work on the kitchen because he has to do other things he has to prepare for. As you can see from behind me, the kitchen is starting to take shape a little bit. Johan built our range hood over the kitchen. It's one that kind of just looks like a cupboard, so at the moment it's just jibbed, but the range hood goes under there and then it looks quite nice and tidy. So I've been helping Lydia making the cakes, but I was just thinking that when you bake cakes or other yummy things in the kitchen, there are always ingredients in there that are not very nice by themselves, like baking soda and Cocoa is very bitter, and raw eggs are not very nice. And yeah, a lot of the things you put into cakes don't taste nice on their own, but when they're all mixed together and when they're all cooked, they taste really nice. And yeah, it's just a reminder, it's a really good picture of life and the things that happen in our lives that may be bitter or sad or very hard or don't make any sense. And yet when God takes them, when He's in control of our lives and we love Him, as the Bible says, all things work together for good to them that love God. And it's a really good promise to cling to when there are things in your life that are bitter, like the cocoa, or really not nice or sad or hard to understand, to remember that when they're in God's hands, the end product is something beautiful or something good. Just like when you make a cake, you take all those ingredients and you make it into something good. So if God is in control of our life and we put everything in His hands, then we can trust that He's going to make it into something beautiful. And the all things mean all things. That means the coronavirus and the whole vaccine issue in New Zealand. The teachers now have to be vaccinated or they lose their jobs, and the nurses as well, which for a lot of people that's a very hard thing. Our children go to a Christian school, so that's affecting our school as well. But I find it encouraging to remember Romans 8:28, that all these things work together for good. So there is some good purpose to it, even though it may be a very hard thing in itself. And it also, all things refer to all things. Maybe for some people it's being single, or maybe it's not being able to have children, or miscarriages, or anything that's hard or bad or sad. All things work together for good to them that love God. And we can't always see how, but we can trust that if God says it, then it's true. And baking also makes a lot of mess. Every time you cook, there is a stack of dishes and there is food everywhere that you need to clean up afterwards, especially if you make Lydia. That's also another picture of when God does do things in our life. There is what may feel like mess to us, maybe tears or frustrations or things we don't understand, or and maybe even anger. And yet you have no cakes. You can't bake a cake without making any mess. And when God works in our lives and when He does good things in our lives, there will be mess as well. But if our lives are in His hands, He will clean up the mess and there will be a finished product at the end that's worth it. This has become a good habit.
Of old battles. But one space over the mantelpiece was bare.
Me and Lydia are quickly going to ice these before bed.
The general saw him. The man caught hold of the boy saying off Jack and yanked him to his feet. And with one accord, the three bird nesters ran off at top speed.
So I watched a Christian movie once, which I don't like enough to share. I'm picky on which ones I share on here. But there was something that I took away from it that I found quite helpful. And the video was based on a true story, and it was a story of a boy with leukemia. He was a, I don't know, teenager, or maybe 19 or 20, I don't know. I think he just finished school. But anyway, he had a girlfriend and she really wanted to marry him, but he was too scared to get married because he knew he was going to die at some point. And yeah, he was too afraid to get married, and he didn't want to do that to her. She wanted to marry him even though she knew that he would die at some point, but he didn't want her to have to do that, which I can understand. But she was really keen to, and so he was praying about it, and he was feeling really frustrated. And somebody said to him, you need to live until you die. And what he meant by that was, you know, you can't live in fear of what's going to happen. And so that boy found that really helpful, and he did get married, and they were married for a short time before he did die. But I found that really helpful because it's easy to live in fear of what might happen, and then we don't do things that we could be doing just because out of fear. And I think it's especially true with the virus and all that's been happening with that. It's easy to live in fear and to not do what we could be doing just because of that. And I know, you know, we can't always do everything that we could usually do without it, but the point is to not live in fear. And another example is I'm sometimes fearful in the car because I had a car crash once, and yeah, but that shouldn't mean that I never travel anywhere just because I might have a car crash. I can't live in the fear of if I, you know, go in the car, I might have a car crash. And it can be the same with anything in life. We shouldn't let the fear of what might happen stop us from doing what we could be doing or what we should be doing. And I was talking to somebody last night, and they said, they were talking about how there is so much fear with the virus, and they said we need to be prayerful, very prayerful about everything that's happening, especially in New Zealand, but I guess all over the world. So yeah, we should be prayerful, not fearful. And I heard a preacher say once that we should turn our worries into prayer. So when we're thinking about things that are worrying us or that are scary or that we feel afraid of, we should turn those worries into prayer and pray about them.